Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right. Shout out to the fam, man. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of The Coma. Hope y'all had a fantastic week, man. It's been a pretty productive week for us. I hope it's been a pretty productive week for you guys as well. Shout out to the fam on this Friday installment of The Coma. We up in this thing. Saints News Training Camp Day 20 news and notes as provided by the Saints News Network. We're also going to go over another roster projection as we are facing the final game of preseason before we get into the regular season matchup against the Tennessee Titans. A lot of people are excited. We also go over today's interviews, a couple of interviews, Coach Dennis Allen, Jalen Smith. We'll also play some highlights from the practice at the Dome. So shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this installment of the show. And like I've been saying for some time now, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. Shout out to OG Jerry in the building, Brother Slim as well. Shout out to you, Brother Tory, one of the diehards in the building of many. Appreciate you, sir. Brother Joseph is in this thing. Devon's in this thing. Shout out to everybody. Brother Gundam, another one, is in this thing. Shout out to you, brothers. Appreciate y'all for all being in the stream. Much love to everybody. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's keep it popping and going, baby. So with that being said, let's get into this first one here, the first article coming straight by way of Saints News Network. Shout out to my brothers, Kyle T. Mosley, Bob Rose, John Hendricks, always giving good game and information on the Black and Gold. A great resource for all things Black and Gold. We appreciate them so much. All right, so anyway, let's jump right into it. Saints played host to they host to the Saints. Superdome played host to the Saints for day 21. We got some of the highlights that we're going to play from that match, from them in the dome, catching and doing everything they got to do. John Hendricks covered the scoop. Saints training camp day 21 news and notes. Those in attendance: Chris Olave headlined the list of missing players, but Dennis Allen called it. And we'll play that interview, by the way. Called it a rest day for him. He's been really playing really well. Of course, we know Chris Olave is coming into his second year, which most players, phenomenal or otherwise, usually go through what they call the dreaded sophomore slump. Could that be something that Chris Olave experienced? Is it something that Alontae Taylor might experience? Is it something that Rashid Shaheed might experience? So these are guys coming into their second years. We know Paulson Adebo experienced it last year as well, so most people go through that. So he had an off day. And also it was well deserved. No other changes on who's missing: Taysom Hill, Traquan Smith, Marshawn Lattimore, Kirk Merritt, Darrell Williams, Ryan Connolly, Landon Young, Jesse James, Lynn Bowden Jr. were the absences. Rashid Shaheed did a little bit more today, not only working in the short swing and outrights, but fielding punts. Remember, this is something that I'm not very excited about. I know every now and again you want to roll Rashid Shaheed out there to return a punt, but that is not something that you want him to do full time. You know, you want to have that delegated to somebody else to be the delegated guy. And unfortunately, some of the guys, Lynn Bowden Jr. was absent. I think he's definitely dealing with something. I remember in the game he took a couple of hits, one of which was a punt return. I think it was a punt return, fam. He or kickoff return, whether I forgot which one it was, in which he should have called that the guy was right in his face, and he just should have fair catched it, and the guy popped the mess out of him. So I don't know. He might be he definitely dealing with something. But anyway, Rashid Shaheed did some stuff working on the short swing out routes, but also fielding points. He should be ready for week 1. Remember that he got hurt, had the groin issue, and the Saints shut him down for pretty much for the preseason, getting him ready for week 1. Kelvin Throckmorton had ribs that were limited, but he's not participating in the drill. Starting looks, offensive line, Trevor Penning, James Hurst, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Ryan Ramczyk. And then, of course, the second unit, Lewis Kidd, Pete Garcia, Sel DeVere, and Storm Norton. Third stringers, Mark Evans, Nick Seldaveri, Alex Fieldstrom at center with Tommy Kramer and Chuck Filiaga playing the other position. The third stringers on defense, the Saints rolled out nickel to start with Cam, Shepard, Colin Sanders, and Carl Granderson. Is that the first 4? Is that the starting defensive line for the Saints into the regular season? Is it Granderson? Is it Peyton Turner? You know, they were on the line. Pete Werner and Demario Davis was at the linebacker position. Bradley Roby was in the slot, while Alante Taylor and Paulson Adebo were outside. Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May were at safety. Of course, we know what's going on with Lattimore. The 7-on-7 drills, Derek Carr, Jameis Winston finished 4-5, while Jake Haener completed both of his passes with the defense starting at the 40-yard line, the defensive personnel. Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Tyrann Mathieu, Alante Taylor, Bradley Roby, Paulson Adebo, Marcus May, Lonnie Johnson Jr. also subbed in, as well as Nephi Sewell, Jalen Smith, and DeMarco Jackson at the linebacker position. Carr started off 4-5, complete flat, his pass out to the flat to Jawan Johnson with Tyrann Mathieu on the drill. The next play, complete deep left side to Michael Thomas for a nice hookup. Pete Werner and Tyrann Mathieu were in the area. Thomas ran the route and simply lost everybody. And remember, he's been looking good. That's really the story underneath the story, that, so much excitement, enthusiasm going on in the black and gold building, but people are not truly and to a degree we are realizing that Michael Thomas is healthy, y'all. And that's a big damn thing if you're a New Orleans Saints person, because Michael Thomas is definitely somebody you will want out there in the season. I mean, he just makes it pop. And then you have somebody to compliment him in the Chris Olave that takes all the pressure off of Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas never had a serious compliment, like a really good compliment wide receiver to playoff. That's a huge difference when he was catching all them passes. He had Traquan freaking Smith as his compliment player, Traquan Smith. So at some point, we got to understand that having Michael Thomas and then having Chris Olave with him, that means a world of difference to what he can do. And I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to double team Michael Thomas, but he's healthy for the first time in a long time. And that's something to be really excited about for the Saints offense. Let me tell you something. All right. The next play from Derek Carr was incomplete in the flats. It was intended for Elvin Kamara. It was dropped. Complete curl right to Jimmy Graham on the next play with Paulson Adebo there. Complete sideline left for immediate gain to Quan Baker, DeMarco Jackson's there. Baker was open and jumped to secure the catch. All right, Jameis got out there. He was 4-5. His first pass was incomplete. Second one was complete on a drag right to the left to Keith Kirkwood, who's really been stepping up for a short gain, DeMarco Jackson in coverage. Complete the third pass, a middle hook short to Quan Baker with DeMarco Jackson in coverage. Complete to the flats, left short to Ellis Merriweather, Troy Pride in coverage. Winston went through the progressions, checked it down to the last read. Good, Jameis. That's what we're talking about. Go through the progressions, line allowing him, and then you don't see something, check it down. Complete sideline left for an immediate gain to Jontre Kirkland with Troy Pride. Nice grab by Kirkland. Impressed, but could be a priority for the practice squad. Jontre Kirkland catching on late, man, could get on here. Jake Haener 2 for 2 in terms of the practice squad. Complete for Hainer on his first one. It's a crosser to the left, right, immediate gain by Shaq Davis. Adrian Fry getting cooked again. Adrian Fry getting fried and cooked and baked and sauteed all damn through the camp. You know, his name is he got to change the name or something. It was a good threading of the needle by Hainer, waiting until the last possible second to throw a complete wheel left to Kendre Miller on the next play for a deep game. Ty Summers was the best connection of the day. Saw Miller get open on the route. Hainer threw a great pass. And of course, the team series, which is team series number one, Carr was 2 of 3, Winston 2 of 2, Hainer was 1-on-1. The first series had Saints working from their own 42-yard line, where Carr's first pass was a deep connection left side in the middle to Keith Kirk, where Carl Granderson had the pressure on the play. The next play was thrown in the dirt after Cam Jordan provided the pressure. Winning against Foster Monroe, Jontre Kirkland was in the area on the attempted receiver screen to the left. Jamal Williams got inside a carry on the next play that saw Carl Granderson and Big Colin Sanders make the stop. He got it again and it stacked them up in the middle. On the next play, Carr's final pass of the series was a deep right hookup to Keith Kirkwood off the play action. Jordan once again had the pressure. Carr rolled out to the right and threw on the run. It was a nice hookup. People forget Derek Carr could scramble and roll around in the pocket. You can roll him on that pass, that play action to the right. Because he does, and he ain't jailing hurting nobody out there, but he can get out of trouble if he needs to. He got some wheels on him, can make a move if you need him to. Winston series started with an inside run to Kendre Miller that was stopped by the Roach and Brian Breesy. One thing was noticed is Miller's not wearing a knee brace, so that's good. The team also was in shell, so Miller got another carry inside to the left and was stopped with Tanu Passanio shedding a block to get in for the stop there. Winston did hit Shaq Davis off the play action for an intermediate gain to the right. Passanio had the pressure again. Davis made the catch with some contact from Isaac Yiadom and Lonnie Johnson Jr. Quan Baker got a jet sweep left on the next play, getting to the second level. And the final play was a check down on Lucas Crawl for a short gain over the middle. He was the last read. Now, what's interesting is, once again, Tanu Passanio just keeps showing up. He shedded a block on the previous play, and then the following play provided pressure. He's been providing pressure and playing like a madman this entire training camp and the preseason. He's healthy. Remember, last year he wasn't. He's totally healthy. The Saints gave him a 2-year extension, and that man out there kicking ass. He making you forget about all these other guys. We had Passanio all the way to the back of the defensive end rotation, and Passanio said, "Watch this," and he pursued to pass up Isaiah Foskey, and he's he's a player in the defensive room. So Hainer's next series. So we talking about Hainer's series start with a nice hook up to A.T. Perry in the middle route, working against Troy Pride. Once again, Pride ain't proud of what he been doing. Adrian Fry and Troy Pride, them dudes are on the rotisserie wheel. Let me tell you something. Shaq Davis got the jet sweep on the next play for a nice gain, similar to Baker. Hainer did a flip out to the left to Miller, to Kendre Miller. Something similar. They said that was reminiscent of something he's seen Drew Brees do that resulted in a nice pickup. Adam Prentice, the fullback who has been having increased involved in offense, got into an inside run to the left, and we got to the second level. That up with a run with Jake Bogus to the short inside gain. So yeah, it looked like Prentice got the lead on Jake Bogus, and they have been using. We've seen in the training camp and in practice they've been using Adam Prentice a lot. In one back sets with Jameis there in the backfield. So they definitely kind of getting things running. Okay, team series number 2, red zone, Carr 2 for 2, Winston 1 for 4, Hainer 3 for 4 on the series for the quarterbacks. Carr went 2 for 2, and it went like this. From the 10-yard line, he completed an angle route to Jamal Williams with Warner and DeMario. They stopped him at the 2. 8-yard line, Carr kept the ball to the left. Granderson applied the pressure. Davis stopped him short to get in the end zone. From the 6-yard line, a delay left to Prentice for a short gain. From the 4-yard line, a complete touchdown, middle inside curl to Kendre Miller with DeMario Davis and Marcus May around the area. And then from the 2-yard line after the touchdown on the drill, inside zone to Jamal Williams. P. Werner made an excellent play to stop Williams from going anywhere, so they botched that thing. Then with Jameis, 1 for 4, now all that's popping, 10 yards. The yard line he started from, it was incomplete. From the 8-yard line, he got the completion to Elvin Kamara, Hugo Amadi around there. 6-yard line, next play, incomplete. 4-yard line, inside run to Kendre Miller with DeMarco Jackson around that thing. 2-yard line, it was incomplete for Jameis. So there you go, 1-4 for Jameis in the drill. Jake Haener fared a lot better. He was 3-4 in the drill. Started from the 10-yard line to complete. He checked it down to Foster Monroe for a short pickup. Jalen Smith was around there. 8-yard line, a complete left to Kendre Miller for a loss. Zach Barn on the play. 6-yard line, it was incomplete. 4-yard line, it was incomplete. A complete pass inside middle to Shaq Davis. Once again, Troy Pride is on the play. He's not proud of that move. Davis did a nice job to get the pass, and there was a defensive penalty offsides on the play. Then from the 2, inside handoff to Kendre Miller. You can't mess that up, right? Jaron Cage made the play. He kind of blew that thing up as well. So Jaron Cage flashing it. All right, team series number 3, Carr fared better. Jameis was 3 of 5. Haener was 2 of 3. And it started from the defense's 25-yard line, working down and distance. So Derek Carr, 3 for 3 in this drive. He liked this one. Starting from the 25-yard line, first and 10, he complete to the flat to Elvin Kamara. Alontae Taylor was there. On the 23-yard line, 2nd and 8, short left run to Kamara. Carl Granderson had a nice rep against Penning on the play. From the 21-yard line, 3rd and 6, it was a complete on the angle middle to Elvin Kamara. Tyrann Mathieu was the closest in coverage. From the 12-yard line, 1st and 10, inside short left run to Kamara with Alontae Taylor and Nephi Sewell there. Then from the 10-yard line, 2nd and 8, complete back end zone to Quan Baker for the touchdown. Carl Granderson had the pressure and honestly would have had the sack here. Baker was wide open. So there you go. Baker cooked up a touchdown. Jameis Winston on the series, 3 for 5 from the 25-yard line, 1st and 10 completed to the sideline to Jontre Kirkland for a short gain. Then from the 21-yard line, 2nd and 6, incomplete. From the 21-yard line again, 3rd and 6, complete middle right to Shaq Davis for a deep gain. Jonathan Abrams on the play. Play went to the 3 as Davis was open, fairly open. From the 3-yard line, 1st and goal, inside middle run with Kendre Miller for a short gain. From the 1-yard line, 2nd and goal, incomplete. From the 1-yard line, 3rd and goal, they get the touchdown. Left end zone, A.T. Perry. Isaac Yiadom is in coverage. Perry made the play, got the touchdown on the drill. Moving to Jake Haener, 2 of 3, started from the 25-yard line, 1st and 10. He completed the ball to Adam Prentice for a short gain. 24-yard line, 2nd and 9, complete on the curl left short to J.P. Holtz, the back up tight end for a short gain. Ty Summers on the stop. And then from the 20-yard line, 3rd and 5, incomplete sideline left intended for Keith Kirkwood. Jordan Howden, the rookie defensive back, breaks the ball up, and that'll end that particular drill. All right, team series number 4. Carr went 5 of 9. Haener went 5 of 8. Clock situation here was a minute and 40 seconds in the game. The offense needing a touchdown with 2 timeouts, and this was the last period of the day, starting from their own 25-yard line. So that's the scenario. Carr went 5 of 9 in this particular scenario, in this drill. He started from the 25-yard line with a $1:50 on the clock. Complete flat to Juwan Johnson. Tyrann Mathieu is there. 30-yard line, 1:37 remaining. Inside run with Jamal Williams for 5 yards. Then from the 35-yard lines, a $1:15 remaining. He hit him on a complete on a curl route to Juwan Johnson for 10. From the 45-yard line with less than 60 seconds, complete dump off Jamal Williams for no gain. Granderson with the pressure working play, and then it whittled it all the way down to 41 seconds from the 45-yard line. Then the Michael Thomas for 23 yards. Jordan Howden on the coverage. Cam Jordan came with some pressure on the play to kind of force Carr to run right, but he still kept his eyes downfield to find Michael Thomas. Then from the 32-yard line with 25 seconds remaining, they spiked the ball to stop the clock. All right, and then next thing, they said the ball moved. It was unexplained why the ball moved, but 28-yard line from the 20 with 25 seconds remaining. Carr run right on the play. DeMario had the pressure on the play from the 25-yard line, 17 seconds remaining. The complete post middle to Juwan Johnson for the touchdown with Pete Werner around there. Great. Never happened because Tyrann Mathieu was credited for the sack. So you can see the same defense is coming alive in a lot of these drives. 34-yard line, 13 seconds remaining. The interception by Paulson Adebo in the right end zone, which was intended for A.T. Perry. So Adebo said, enough of this stuff, man. Let's make it pop. He stops and gets A.T. Perry's touchdown. He picks off for the pick. Shout out to Paulson Adebo on that play. And, of course, Jake Haener in the same scenario, 5 of 8 from their 25-yard line, $150 on the clock. He completed to the sideline, left to Jimmy Graham for 5 yards. Then they start from the 30-yard line, $147, complete deep left to Shaq Davis for 22, which is Smoke Monday. 48-yard line defense, $122 remaining, complete slant right to Shaq Davis with Ugo Amadi for a gain of 10. 38-yard line, less than 60 seconds remaining, complete left side to Jimmy Graham for 13. Then they hit the timeout. So they stopped it at 51 seconds there with starting at the 25-yard line. They complete the ball to Ellis Merriweather with Isaac Yiadom there for a gain of 4. Yiadom kept inbounds to make the clock run more from the 21-yard line with 31 seconds remaining. False start by the offense, timeout used to avoid the 10-second runoff. So here we go. 26-yard line, 31 seconds left. It was an incompletion by Jake Haener trying to find Shaq Davis. 26-yard line with 26 seconds remaining was incomplete in the flats intended for Jimmy Graham. Jalen Smith, Ugo Amadi on the play. 26-yard line with 22 seconds. It was an interception by Isaac Yiadom by the left sideline nearing the 4. A.T. Perry was the closest receiver. So Haener was trying to get the ball near him, and Yiadom picks the ball off. Okay, so that ends that particular drill. Now we get to the portion of the article where it talks about the general notes and observations. We talk about the Will Lutz and the Blake Grupe kicking battle, right? Quote, unquote. Will Lutz ended up missing his first kicks in quite some time. He finished 5 of 7, hitting his extra points and being good from 41, 42, 52, and 56. He was wide left from the 46. And from 46 yards out, 28 right hash and the 54 yards from 36 right hash. Was worth pointing out that Headley was the holder here on the misses. The placement of the ball was not ideal. Okay, that was good information. Blake Grupe hit all 7 of his kicks. He was on good extra point and connected from 42, 42, 46, 51, and 54, as well as 59 yards out. The kick from 59 saw him hit the crossbar and it bounced in. Blake Gillikin held these. Grupe has had a strong camp, and the kicker decision still feels like a tie goes to the runner by Force Group on the roster in week 1. So John Hendricks is saying that he thinks Group A is the guy. We got to see both punters today still with lane to Gillikin here. He had some nice down punts when the ball hit, when punting inside the 20 with some nice plays made by JT Gray. Down in the ball at the 1 and some others. Headley had some good reps as well. It's going to be fascinating to see what wide receivers make the final roster. Shaq Davis has played well enough to garner a spot, but the final outlook might not be in his favor. Keith Kirkwood and A.T. Perry will get my other spots behind the big 3. We need a kick returner, and we don't need him to be Rashid Shaheed. None of these men are kick returners. So anyway, interesting looks with NASCAR package and the Saints rushing 3 with Passanio anchor in the middle. Okay, there you go. That's the NASCAR package with Passanio as in turn and putting him on the inside. We said as much that the team wants to get the best 3 rushers on the field in certain situations, but Passanio was also playing inside with Brian Breesy and going in the goal to good. Keep an eye on how this unfolds in camp. And we've been talking about that. I don't know how long I've been talking about kicking, passing your inside because of his size. He's when his mind's right and he's healthy, he's unblockable. I mean, we've seen what he do in training camp. We've seen how he plays in the game. And in training camp period, they can't even block him. I mean, he's constantly providing pressure. He's 6'7". 300 plus pounds. He bats balls down at the line of scrimmage. Why would you not have a massive human being like that on the inside with the 6'6" Brian Breesy, the 6'5" Shepard, and the rest of the behemoths we have running around out there? Why would you not put him there? That's just, you have to use that. All right, so Carl Granderson feels like he'll be the starter opposite of Cam, but have to say that Peyton Turner has already had a really good camp. The Saints are in much better spot with their edge rushers right now. That's a good thing. Granderson starting off the season and that's just like, it's kind of a battle, even though based on, what, I've been following between the Peyton Turner versus Carl Granderson battle for the opposite starter of Cam Jordan. It's about what and what, even though I think Peyton Turner has made more plays than Carl Granderson. Don't get me wrong. Granderson's been fantastic, But you've been hearing about Peyton Turner. Not saying that you ain't hear, but you hear about Granderson, but you've really been hearing about Peyton Turner. Like, he's been doing everything that he's supposed to be doing in terms of applying pressure, getting there, playing the edges, all this kind of stuff. He's a quick defensive end up in that. Both of them are quick. But ultimately, the Saints want Peyton Turner to win the job because he's a first-round draft pick. After the debacle that happened with Marcus Davenport, of course you want Peyton Turner to be the guy to step in there, man. They don't want to have two failures of defensive edge rushers opposite of Cam Jordan. Davenport was a bum. I ain't going to say he's a bum, but he was a bust, no doubt about it. We need Peyton Turner to step up. So Carl Granderson could possibly start. I ain't mad at that because both of those guys provide pressure. But ultimately, Peyton Turner is going to end up getting that position, I said anyway, while sevens were going on, we saw a bit of one-on-one matchups between offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Isaiah Foskey had some interesting reps with Storm Norton, but Norton did a nice job on each one. And, of course, you mentioned Rashid Shaheed was fielding some punts today in addition to him. Hugo Amadi once again, and Jontre Kirkland with a return. Remember, Lynn Bowden Jr. is out with injury right now. So the Saints looking at options in the punt return, kick return in camp right now. So we don't know the long distance plan in terms of what's going on with those guys, if they'll be available for the Houston matchup. Inside Baseball says that they would, but we'll see how it all looks going forward. We know Jontre Kirkland was originally brought here to compete for the kick returner position on the back end of the roster to try to make something shake because Kiki Coty was here, and they put Kiki Coty in the street for Darrell Williams, the running back, when they brought him in here. Well, actually, no. They just put that Darrell Williams. They cut James Washington and brought Darrell Williams. So yeah, there was one wide receiver, and then Kiki Coty got released. Jontre Kirkland came in, and he's been doing a pretty damn good job, to be honest with you. Just not so much at the kick with the Chiefs game. He had a couple of really good returns there, but we haven't seen much since then. Of him having some really good stuff that's happening. Hugo Amadi, I don't know about that one, but my thinking is, and we'll go over the in just a moment, the kick return game, but there's some interesting stuff that's going on. But first of all, shout out to Saints News Network, man, for continuing to bless us with the scoop of going on in the Black and Gold building. So shout out to the rest of the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in this thing. All right, let's move on, fam, before we get to our next article. Let's hear from Dennis Allen for today's practice or whatnot, and we'll see what's shaking on him. But yeah, that's right. Shout out to OG Jerry. He's dropping a scoop. Yeah, Nick Underhill tweeted out that Derek Carr will not be playing in the final preseason game. So that's worth noting. All right. So anyway, and of course, Dennis Allen also talks about this too. And here's Dennis Allen. Y'all put one in the chat if y'all can hear. And if you haven't, hit the like button for me, hit the subscribe button, and share the show on your social media feed. It helps us out. Here we go.
The surroundings here. Again, we worked a lot of good situational work. Got the crowd noise during the huddle, Bobby, so all's good here.
Are you guys excited if Derek will play at all this week?
Yeah, I don't expect to see him this weekend.
Will that be the case with the majority of
There'll be several of those guys that probably won't play in the game. Yeah, look, he's doing a good job, Again, like we said yesterday, he's making some catches in a contested environment, big-bodied player. Still a ton for him to learn, ton for him to get better at, but he's made some good progress. Yeah, so RC will call the offensive plays, and Joe Woods will call the defense in this game.
That's a good switch up right there.
No, both. And so, Jameis will start it out, and then Jake will come in. I think it's really important. There's still a lot of decisions to be made. There's still, a good opportunity for guys to make a good impression, and so I think it's important for a lot of guys.
How much do you weigh? I know you like to put him in competitive situations. I mean, Shaq Davis just got asked about. He obviously did it in a game setting the other night. Like, is that way more than what they do on a day in and day out basis?
Well, I think all of it's taken into account. I think we'd be foolish just to say that we're just going to take one thing into account. You know, we've been in training camp for a long time now. I think this was about practice 24, 25. And so all of those things play into our, you know, decision making in terms of what we ultimately decide to do.
What's Chris Olave's giving us?
It's just a rest day. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're down a few numbers at receiver, and so a lot of those guys have taken a ton of reps.
I know yesterday DeMario gave you some compliments and said that he sees more swagger. Do you feel like you have more swagger this year?
I like our team. You know, I like what we're building here. I like the trajectory that we're on as a football team, and so yeah, I mean, when you feel like you got a pretty good team, yeah, you feel pretty confident about it. So call it what you will, but I like our team.
What are some of the things you guys look at, or maybe way more heavily, like when you're evaluating the kicker battle? Like, are there certain things that happen out here that carry more weight than others? Is it everything? Is it?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you know, it's all being evaluated. You know, ultimately for the kickers, who puts it through the uprights most consistently. You know, I mean, that's ultimately what it's all about. You know, I think both those guys have, you know, done well, had good camps. They've performed well in the game. And so just like any other position, you're evaluating every time they step out there and have an opportunity, you're evaluating it. So same thing with the punters. You know, I think, look, we had a pretty good going in punts today. You know, I thought both those guys kicked the ball pretty well. So all of them will get an opportunity in the game.
What was the, you guys, it looked like a touchdown to Jawan Johnson, then you did fourth down. Was there a penalty or something?
So Riz called a sack. So it was a
Who got
sack.
the sack?
I think it was Tyrann Mathieu coming off the left side. So
In that situation was in the game, being a touchdown.
in the game, down 7.
How did you feel about the officiating, as far as not the officiating, but how your team did with the penalties? You get the word.
Yeah. No, look, it was good. You know, again, you're trying to put guys in a real live game. Was fairly clean in practices last week. You know, and so, you know, hopefully that. I think there's a few battles that are tightly contested. You know, and so I think, you know, this game will be important in a couple of those battles, and we'll see how it plays out. But you know, we've got a lot of information now, and this will be, you know, kind of one last opportunity to make an evaluation of where our guys are at. No, I've never done a Michael Thomas workout, nor do I think I ever will do a Michael Thomas workout. But yeah, I mean, look, he's a big physical receiver. Probably, you know, the thing he does best is be able to make contested catches. And so, like I said yesterday, I think every day we're seeing more and more of Michael Thomas being the type of player that we think he's capable of being, and that he knows he's capable of being. All right, guys, thanks.
All right, that's old Dennis Allen right there. And a lot of good game, Dennis. You talked about Derek Carr will be out there. Another really interesting thing, you know, you talk about the potential battles, the battles that's going on in camp. They mentioned the stuff that's going on with the kicker and all this kind of stuff. So let's kind of segue to the next topic or discussion that we'll talk about before we get into our next video. And here we'll cover this article right here by WVUE's Sean Fasand, who did a very good job of writing his projection for the latest roster. Of course, we got the preseason game, and then really the Saints have, you know, a little bit to chop the roster down from where it is to 53, set up the practice squad. So that'll be very exciting for the upcoming week. So anyway, Saints' latest roster projection there by WVUE's Sean Vazan. So here it is. The Saints play one final preseason game before the cutdowns on Tuesday. The game against the Texans will likely solidify the last few spots. With that in mind, here's his shot at the roster projection. The quarterbacks, of course, is Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, Jake Haener. His breakdown for that is despite recent chatter about Winston, the Saints keep 3 quarterbacks in this projection. I agree. I don't think Jake Haener, a lot of people say, Q, do you think Jake Haener ends up on the practice squad? Hell no. Jake Haener will be on the active roster when the time comes. So Carr, Winston, and Haener, I agree with that. The running backs, he has 4 with Kamara, Williams, Miller, Darrell Williams, and Adam Prentice being there. Of course, we know he has the asterisk next to Alvin Kamara being suspended for 3 games. Kamara doesn't count against the roster for the first 3 weeks of the season. Thus, the Saints turn to veteran Darrell Williams to fill the 3rd running back spot. Complicating things is the fact that he's dealing with a groin injury. Should that linger, the Saints could turn to Ellis Merriweather, and by all indication, that seems to be where the Saints is going. They haven't really and listen, they could have brought in a running back or somebody this week to help out with the issues that's going on with the running back position. They obviously feel comfortable that Williams will be okay. And Ellis Merriweather has shown enough in the preseason and training camp to warrant him being there in the interim until Alvin Kamara. And the truth to be told is that would be a smart decision by the Saints to use Ellis Merriweather, even though, you know, you have Darrell Williams there and Ellis could be kind of the last guy there and get some good live game reps when he does get an opportunity to play before they slot him back to the practice squad. And it will be a smart move for the Saints to use it in that capacity. So absolutely. The wide receivers, a lot of people talk about the wide receivers. We know our top 3, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and Rashid Shaheed. We know our A.T. Perry's going to be there. And then there's Keith Kirkwood. A lot of people say, man, Keith Kirkwood had a fantastic camp, had a solid preseason as well so far. So with each practice, it's getting more difficult to leave Shaq Davis off the roster. A lot of people keep saying Shaq Davis, Q. I'm with you on that. A big finish to the preseason could certainly help him. For now, he's an ideal practice squad candidate. Perry has looked like a different player since the preseason opener, while Kirkwood is a steady veteran. So those are the guys there in terms of that. You know, I like all of those guys. My only issue is where's your return man not named Rashid Shaheed? We have him coming off of a groin issue during the preseason. He's your 3rd best guy. Do we really want him to be our punt returner and kick returner? We need to find somebody for that slot. A.T. Perry and Keith Kirkwood are not return men. That's the only thing, right? So anyway, the tight ends, 4 tight ends, Taysom Hill, Graham, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, absolutely agree. With his medical episode behind him, Graham makes it on the 53-man roster. Lucas Krull has grown but needs another year of practice squad development. Absolutely. All those drops he had in that last game, including that touchdown pass, he definitely showing that he's not ready for big-time action right now. So we got to put him on the practice squad. Offensive line, 9 people, Ryan Ramczyk, Penning, Hurst, McCoy, Ruiz, Pete, Throckmorton. No, why Throckmorton? Because they probably can't find a better option. Nick Saldiveri and Landon Young. Now, concerns about the offensive line depth is not unique to the Saints. Every team is dealing with it. It appears that Hurst will start the season at left guard, and Pete will be the back up there. Now, I don't know if Pete's 100% healthy. I know during the last several practices, Pete has activated or happened as a backup guard. But if he obviously it's not 100% for them to be doing this. If he was, he would have that position. Am I upset about that? No, it is what it is currently. All right, defensive tackle position. You got 4 of them with Sanders, Shepard, Breesy, and Malcolm Roach. This group has come together nicely. Solid group right there. 3 of the 4 guys are new to the team, and they're going to bring something differently. The defensive ends, you have 5 there with Cam, Jordan, Turner, Grandison, Foskey, and Passanio. And really, you can, if it's built on order, if that's an order to this, really Passanio should be the way he's been playing. Passanio is up there with the rest of those guys. I mean, he's been phenomenal. A steady group. Grandison appears to be ahead of Turner, but both guys will play a ton. I agree. Peyton Turner, man, the way I see it, I think Peyton Turner, this training camp and preseason has done a little bit more than Carl Granderson. Would it be enough for the Saints to say, okay, Peyton Turner, you'll get the nod in year 3 because you're a first-round draft pick and you've shown us some stuff? Dennis Allen talks about him several times during the training camp and after the preseason games. He's always big up in Peyton Turner. Is it enough to get Peyton Turner in the starting lineup starting week 1? We'll see. Linebackers, 6 linebackers the Saints keep on Sean Fazan's list: Pete Werner, Demario Davis, Jalen Smith, Zach Bond, DeMarco Jackson, and Nephi Sewell. Keeping 6 linebackers in his projection based on the emergence of Smith, who bolsters the thinnest group on defense. Jackson has cooled off after a decent start to camp. Sewell gets the last spot. Special team guys. You know what I'm saying? They got to play special teams, those back end linebackers. I do like Nephi Sewell. I think he's a very good young player. DeMarco Jackson is flashed to show some stuff. Zach Bond right there, kind of. Jalen Smith is kind of pushing him down where we thought he would have, what we thought how it would end up. So Zach Bond will have to get used to playing special teams. Cornerback Marshawn Lattimore with one of the cornerbacks, 5 of Paulson Adebo, Alontae Taylor, Bradley Roby, and Isaac Yiadom gets the final position there. In terms of the cornerbacks look to be the strongest unit on the team. Adebo looks to have won the cornerback competition with Alontae Taylor, but Laddie Daddy out for the last few days. Taylor has received a lot of first-team reps there, and Yiadom is the veteran that remained consistent all camp. He closed out practice with the interception. We covered that, and that's true. Isaac Yiadom has definitely earned his spot on this team as a cornerback, man, for real. He had a pretty damn good camp. He got burned a couple times, but he did get several picks during the camp. He's flashed and done a wonderful job there. And, of course, we talked about the Paulson Adebo versus Alontae Taylor battle. And I was telling people the whole time, I was like, y'all know my spiel. Alontae Taylor was drafted to replace Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And what I mean by that is not just actually the player, but the position. They like Alontae Taylor in that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson role, in that modified nickel role. He's a great open field tackler. He has really good speed. He loves hitting. He can cover a lot of room, and he's very versatile. He can play that position. He can play outside, inside. He can play a little safety if you need him. Probably one of our most versatile defensive backs that we have is Alontae Taylor, man. So, that'll be fun watching him out there. And, of course, he has 5 safeties: Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, who has an asterisk next to his name, Jordan Howden, Ugo Amadi, Lonnie Johnson Jr., and JT Gray. So projection is tricky given the possible suspension of Marcus May, which we account for in this projection. With him not counting, we put Howden and Johnson on the final 3. Johnson has been steady while Howden has been getting first-team reps as the dime safety. Amadi is more of a nickel, but is listed in the safety category, which leaves our guy Jonathan Abram on the outside looking in. So Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, we know the possible suspension. We know he already settled, so it's only a matter of time before we know what he's dealing with. You should hear from that real soon too, fam, because they settled that he got probation, so the NFL is seeing it. So we should be hearing from that coming up in the next week or so, prior to the game getting going. So we're anticipating he will be out for 3 games for the DUI. We'll see how they handle it, though. We'll see. All right, because I damn sure don't put no ideas in their heads. All right, special teams. Will Lutz, Blake Gillikin, and Zach Wood. Will Lutz win the battle. Lutz versus Group A has been fantastic to watch, but Group A closed out the practice 59-yard field goal that hit the crossbar, went through. The punter battle has been disappointing. Neither has done well. For this projection, we're sticking with Gillikin. Now, Will Lutz, on the other hand, like we talk about Blake Group A having a fantastic training camp, but when it comes down to actually kicking field goals in the live game, you want to go, Will Lutz to me, Will Lutz don't have to be perfect. Like, he's done enough so far to stay on the team. He missed one or 2 of them today. So what? I mean, that's Will freaking Lutz over there, man. When the season starts, Will Lutz is not going to be kicking, for the season 74% like he did after his injury year when he had surgery on his core. So he had to basically kind of get it all back together and put it together. But Will Lutz has been one of the best kickers in the game for the last several years outside of that bomb-ass 74% year. So, I mean, Clutch Lutz is his nickname. That's what we call him. And if we talking about having a deep playoff run with a very expensive team, because that's what the Saints have put together, a very expensive team with $150 million quarterback perched on top of it. You got people all over the place, from Jamal Williams to Elvin Kamara. The draft picks were phenomenal. And from an offensive standpoint, they added some assistant coaches to help put things together. I love Clancy Barone at the tight end coach. Love that. I love the acquisition of Jari Evans to help out Doug Marrone and the linebacker and the offensive lineman room. Love those. I love several of those moves were key and phenomenal. Love the defensive moves that the Saints made as well to fortify the secondary, made it even stronger. To bring Jalen Smith was the question for the linebacker. Love those moves. But when it come down to experience, Blake Grupe doesn't have the NFL experience. Will Lutz has several years of it. He's kicked in these big games, and you would want him in these games where you kicking 40-plus long field goals and stuff in clutch moments. He's been there and done that. So practice squad Blake Grupe. Wouldn't be surprised if Blake Grupe, after the game was over with, walked to the locker room and then sat down and kind of hurt his back a bit, had a strain in his back. Then the next day, the Saints put him on IR, so they keep both. It'll be something, kind of janky like it was with Blake Gillikin, when Blake Gillikin popped up with an injury and he was placed on the IR and saved so he don't have to get pilfered. So, I mean, like I said, we'll see how it all works, but the Saints done a really good job finding Blake Grupe. He's done great here, but he's not beating out Will Lutz. I think it's a bad idea for you to put a rookie there and you're talking about you want to, a playoff run. Will Lutz is on 1-year deal. You keep him there and then practice Blake Grupe if he clears waivers. And if he don't, let's just keep this thing pushing, man. Let's keep it pushing. I got experience over a rookie, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just you want to play. You want to get this cup or what? We're gonna go get this damn trophy or not? We're gonna go get it or not? We need an experienced kicker and all of this accolades. We covered this on the previous stream. What all the stuff, and shout out to Bob. He wrote a really good article on it about all of the things that Will Lutz has done with the Saints since he's been here. Like all the points that he scored and how accurate he's been from 40 to 49. And I was like, man, I forgot. I knew this. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. Wow. And that's, man, he earned it, man. Anyway, speaking of Jalen Smith, which was a phenomenal pickup by the Saints. We kind of they had a little flirtation with Anthony Barr and brought him in here. And then, people were wondering, let's bring him in. And then they brought a guy back that fits. That's a young veteran that still has a lot of years left to give, and came in. And I just love his confidence. He came in, the reporter asked him a terrific question. He asked Jalen Smith, he says, hey, how long do you think it'll be for you to pick up the Saints defense? He said, it won't be long. Just like that. It won't be long. I played in this system before. It won't be long. And then what happens? Gets out there, makes plays all over the damn place. Anyway, let's play Jalen Smith after today's practice. Y'all put one in the chat if y'all can. Here we go.
Get to rush the passer a little bit.
Absolutely. I haven't been able to unleash that ability how I would like to. So, like I said, I'm here with the guys. I'm a competitor. I'm a baller. Mike, Sam, Will, whatever coach needs for me, I'm gonna get the job done for sure.
Obviously, us seeing you come in and looks like you've had a good couple of weeks here. I mean, what is your impression of why you weren't on a team previously, or what took so long for teams to come around, or were you being selective, or?
I mean, the biggest thing is opportunity.
Yeah.
Anytime I've had an opportunity, I've produced here in this National Football League. So that's the only thing I can control is, controlling what I can control. The business, politics, all of these different things that go on. When you're in the league, you got to be able to weather those, those storms and adversity. But I'm a guy that whenever I've given an opportunity, I've produced. Even last year with the Giants bringing me in.
Jalen, do you have a sense of how you're going to be utilized in this final preseason game, or if you will? And also, TA said, one of the important things for you will be how you perform on teams.
I think the biggest thing is, with DA and all the coaches is making sure that I'm ready, for whatever position that is. Like I said, Mike, Will, Sam, I'll make sure I'm ready. If coach needs me on special teams, I've never played special teams before, but I'm a football player, so I'm going to find a way to get the job done, for sure.
You mentioned the opportunity a couple minutes ago. Joining a defense with as many leaders and guys on it, like how appealing was that as far as coming to this?
I think culture is everything for me, especially in the stage of my career. I want to be around the right guys, the right team, the right unit. And, I've always admired New Orleans from afar. And, coming in, joining the team, the brothers brought me in right away with much respect. And, for me, it's just about how can I add value. So I'm just thankful to be here, for sure.
What's it been like just working with DeMario?
It's been amazing. It's been amazing. Dede, he's a living legend, a guy who's had a lot of success, had a lot of adversity, overcame it, and I've always been a fan of DeMario. Us watching each other's game over the years, getting a chance to be up and close and personal with each other. We're learning from each other for sure. But he's a blessing. I love to see the way he leads for sure.
Is it, you mentioned you've never played special teams. Is it by coincidence or by because of your injury or by design because of your injury? Just kind of why, I guess?
I kind of always been the guy, the starter or the leader of the defense or the captain. So, when you're in that role, you don't have to worry about teams as much. And that's just kind of always been, my realm from I was 7 years old until now. But like I said, I'm a football player, and I'm about doing whatever it takes to help the team win. So it's just a blessing to be here for sure.
Jalen, with all your experience now, how different it is compared to, say, a rookie or a younger player that you're on top of, which happened last game, down in distance, and they might have to get 5 yards but they only get 4, or you get a batted pass defended. That from an intellectual standpoint, about knowing the down and distance and being able to get off the field.
Absolutely. A lot of that comes with experience and understanding. And then at the end of the day, you got to go out there and make the play. I've had a lot of success in the past, but the only thing that matters is what you do now. So it's very important for me anytime I'm on that field that, I'm going to make something happen. But it starts with alignment, assignment, key, and technique. Other than that, we've been playing this game since we were kids. So you got to make sure you keep the fun in it. But I'm a guy that, these guys and these coaches, can rely on to get the job done whenever they need me. So I'm going to always make sure I'm ready for whatever.
Hey, guys.
I love working with him. Coach Hodges, his detail, his discipline, it really intrigues me, and I'm always asking a lot of questions for sure.
Hey, guys, we got to get going.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't me.
All right, that's Jalen Smith, man. And speaking of Jalen Smith, I got his stats on screen for the family members that kind of cut his interview short. But good questions by our media friends. And you can see some of his full career statistics right here. Of course, we talked about it before, second-round draft pick with the Dallas Cowboys back in 2016. He spent that first year out of football because he had the microfracture thing going on. The next year, he came back, played in 16 games, 81 total tackles. Then he just went crazy. From 2018 to 2019 to 2020, statistics off the chain in 16 games with the Cowboys. In 2018, he had 121 tackles total with 4 sacks. 2019, he went 142 with 2.5 sacks and an interception. And then you thought he couldn't get any better than that. 2020, he went 16 games, 154 total tackles. And he also had a sack and a half and an interception that year as well. So, yeah, that is absolute. His numbers are absolutely crazy, what he did with the Cowboys. Then with the 21 year, he got hurt, played 4 games, only had 18 tackles in those 4 games. And then it was a contract situation. He got done, and he moved on to the Giants, played 13 games for the Giants, gave them 88 tackles and a sack, and he played very well for them. So, yeah, it really one off year for Jalen out of the several years. One off year was the injury year in 21. Of course, he missed 2016 because he was rehabbing. But the guy's a really good pickup for the Saints. What he brings, he looks good there. And I'm happy the Saints did that because that was like one of the last things that the black and gold really needed to do to kind of improve upon the linebacker, because that was the soft spot of the team. And we was like, yeah, what if DeMario has an issue? Well, it took DeMario having an issue, even though it's not serious, the calf issue that basically sidelined him from seeing any meaningful action. They're getting him revved up for week 1, but that's the issue that happened to get Jalen Smith in here, to get him here. And of course, you see him automatically just push past Zach Bourne, and obviously you knew that was going to happen. He's the second most experienced linebacker we have outside of Demario Davis. So it's been interesting as well for the Black and Gold. But let me ask this question to the members. We have a lot of stuff. We went over depth chart from Sean Fazand. We did another one yesterday. We're working on one, I think, for tomorrow or the next, for tomorrow's show, for the Saturday stream. We're going to go over my own depth chart leading into the game, and then probably we'll see how that one looks when the time comes when the Saints start slashing it down. But I do like the question I have is not even I know Will Lutz gets it. I'd be uberly surprised if Blake Group A is the kicker. I think you go with the experience of Will Lutz. Outside of that, the only other question I have is the kick returner game. The wide receiver, who's going to be not the 2 wide receivers, because we know the top 3 we know, and the 4th is A.T. Perry. Who's the 5th guy? Who should be? And people say Keith Kirkwood, and he's played well, but we need a return man. That we need a returner there so that he is the guy that returns. Now, I guess you could have a return as a defensive back, but we don't have that. We don't have a DB return man. They're trying to do that with Ugo Amadi, and we've seen him in one return. Wasn't really impressed with Ugo Amadi as a kick returner. So it appears that the Saints, and usually you could kind of look at a Kirk Merritt and kind of move him in that position, but Kirk Merritt's banged up. So who's the kick returner for the Saints? Sometimes we pick the best 5 receivers. No, you need a kick returner. Keith Kirkwood's not a kick returner, so we don't need a guy like Rashid Shaheed doing it. So who's the kick returner for us? Y'all put it there. Speaking of, you see him right there. Who's the guy? Who do you guys think it should be? And really, it comes down to Lynn Bowden Jr. He's dealing with an issue. We'll see if he plays in the game. They're saying it's not supposed to be nothing deep, but we'll see. But it's Lynn Bowden Jr., it's John Trey Kirkland, and who else am I missing? I understand they're using every now and again. You see Rashid Shaheed there in a kick return capacity every now and again, but you don't want your 3rd best wide receiver constantly back there returning kicks or punts for you. Somebody else got to do it. So who's the guy? So we'll see. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I like Keith Kirkwood, but if you got to roll with Lynn Bowden, if Lynn Bowden's healthy, and remember how to say that's like, okay, Lynn Bowden Jr., do they have the imagination to use his skill set? When he was in college, they had him playing quarterback. Even when they had a quarterback at Kentucky, they had him running back, doing running back stuff. Wide receiver, he was actually a decent route runner, and he has a good pair of hands. You've seen the Saints sets when they were using them, they would send them in motion and they were throwing the ball. He can get upfield. So you can see the versatility angle and what Lynn Bowden Jr. brings. And plus, he has experience in the special teams realm. If he's good to go, then he should be the 5. If anything else happens, I don't know. We might perhaps look at somebody once the cuts happen, then maybe a return person falls to you among the cuts the Saints find, because that's always a possibility too. When all of the cuts happen, perhaps there's somebody that gets released that's better than the guy that you have that you can then perhaps bring on the team, because that happens every year. So I don't know. We'll see what it says. K-Man says right now it's Rashid Shaheed. How comfortable are you guys with that? Are you guys comfortable with Rashid Shaheed being your kick returner? I'm not really comfortable with that. I'm going to tell you no lie. I ain't really comfortable with that. All right, Pops TG says, would love to see Merriweather try kick return. Merriweather at the kick returner, just a bowling ball back there, knocking over everybody. All right, he says he has a quick burst that can give some good. I don't know if I would say him as a kick returner. I don't know. A north-south running back. I mean, he don't have a wiggle. He's like really a battering ram type of guy to run up against the people and all that, but I want the Saints to kind of, do it. And truth, honestly, they did a little bit better in the kick return and punt return blocking to open up positions for guys to make things happen. So we'll see. All right, Tron, what's up, brother? Say Q. Actually, Rashid Shaheed, I believe, should. Okay, you believe Rashid Shaheed should return kicks? Okay. All right, well, yeah, okay. All right, so you guys are comfortable with Rashid Shaheed as a kick returner and a punt returner. That's your third best wide receiver now. I guess a lot of people feel uncomfortable now because they see A.T. Perry climb up the wide receiver rankings. Is that what's going on here? You feel a little insurance policy on it? Devon says Kendre Miller. I don't know if I would put Kendre Miller as a return man. I don't know. Tron says I am reason because I was solid. There you go. Okay, thank you for saying that. All right. You feeling pretty good at first. You was a little shaky until you seen A.T. Perry in that first preseason game and then the second preseason game. All right, so you got a little bit more confidence in the guys behind Rashid Shaheed. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you for that. I say you got to trust him, bro. Okay, all right. Keep 6 receivers. 6 of them. All right, Slim has an interesting idea. How about Quan Baker? Hey, how about Quan Baker? Quan Baker, yeah. The only thing is, we haven't seen that, Slim. That's not a bad idea at all. I don't know if the Saints see Quan Baker in that role because, I think if I remember Quan Baker, they were using him in that capacity. Wasn't that last year or the year before that where they were using Quan Baker in the capacity as a return man? I know he was working in the special teams area for the Saints because he has speed, man. He got some speed, but, that's an interesting idea. I don't know if they keep 6 wide receivers. I don't know if they keep 6. All right, Ramsey says, hey, Q, who that Q? Sunday is my birthday. I will be 53 years old. How about using Taysom Hill at the kick return? Hey, that's an interesting idea too. I mean, at least he'll get to the 40-yard line, right? He'll run through some arm tackles, he'll break a few tackles. And at most time, Taysom's one of the, if not the fastest guy on the field, he's one of them. So, and of course, even though we have Taysom Hill, the offense could spare Taysom Hill back there at the kick return, punt returner, and done it, but they couldn't spare him being that how deep the tight end room is, how deep the running back room is, how deep all these other rooms is. They can kind of afford to kind of move them along. You know what I mean? Yeah, but that's not to put Taysom back there. All right, Tron says after he ran back a kick, used Kirkwood for the first play, then put him back on the field. All right, thank you. OG Jerry says Mike, Olave, Shaheed, Davis, Kirkwood, and Baker. That's my 6. Okay, you guys thinking, okay, Tron saying 5. All right, Jerry says 6 guys. 6 guys should make the cut. I would love to see you guys 53-man roster. That's what I would love to see. Y'all need to put together a 53-man roster and send it to me, man. That's what y'all need. Email it, type it up, and send it to me, man. And I'm gonna review it, man. Mark it, put it down. I want to see you guys 53-man roster. I want to see who you guys keep on the team and who you guys kick out. It's actually very tough to kind of do those rosters because you try to account for all of the talent versus the needs, like some of the stuff that you might need that the guy that you like don't do, So, I mean, it's a very interesting, dynamic there that you got to kind of, it's a formula that you got to kind of equate to. So I love to see some of you guys 53-man projections, man. Y'all type that up or write it up and send it to me at info@thewhothatdaily.com. 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 Send that to me. All right, anyway. All right, Devon says A.T. Perry won't make it to the practice. No, A.T. Perry is going to be on the active roster, bro. He's going to definitely be a guy on the active roster. So ain't no doubt about it. All right, Brother Quincy says Mike, Olave, Rashid, Perry, and Shaq. Okay, there you go. All right, Shaq. How about Shaq? We ain't talking Shaq. Shaq did say he played a little special teams in college. I don't know if it was a return. Was it returner? I'm going to have to look that up. But he said he'll be willing to do whatever the Saints ask him. That's interesting. He said that several days ago. It'd be interesting to see if they tried to put Shaq Davis as a kick returner. I don't know if that will work. A 6'5" kick returner back there. they'll tear his legs up, wouldn't he? You know, I don't know, man. We'll see. But Shaq Davis is very interesting, man. That's the very interesting dude there. All right, Slim says, hopefully our special teams can learn how to block. I thank you, Slim. I've been saying that for years. And shout out to Ramsey, man. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday to you, brother Ramsey. 53 years old, man. Shout out to you, my friend. Happy that early birthday for you, fam. Appreciate you, man, for being here. All right, K-Man says Mike Olave, Rashid Kirkwood, and A.T. Perry. Okay. We got a lot of people loving on Keith Kirkwood, man. Tron says, Q, I got a Mr. Mad Styles haircut for you, brother. We collab. All right, Tron, shout out to my brother Tron, man. Where you at, Tron? You in Houston, man? I remember you telling me you was in Texas with your barber shop, huh? Mr. Mad Styles haircut. All right, I got you, brother. All right, shout out to you, my brother. Appreciate you, man. All right, fam. So we're gonna get ready to cut out on that. Listen, I appreciate y'all guys for chopping it up with me on this Friday. You know, I got you, Slim. Yeah. File papers, get lawyers said we need speed. Well, you do. Well, I mean, you got Chris Olave, you have Rashid Shaheed. That's two of the fastest guys on your team. Well, A.T. Perry has a degree of speed too, so he's a big speedster. Shaq Davis was what, 4.5, I want to say 4.5. His 40 time was 4.5, but he's a massive target. He's gonna make it hard on him, man, to push it. So if it came down to like a Keith Kirkwood, you want a veteran because you got A.T. Perry, you got and it's an interesting dichotomy because people like Q, we just keep 6. Well, I don't know who you got to make that factor in with other positions because you only allow 53. You have 4 tight ends. See, you probably could get a 6 wide receiver if you didn't have 4 tight ends. You know, you probably could, but we don't usually keep 4 tight ends. That's the crazy part about it is we know we're going to have 4. We don't usually do that. We have 3 going into the season, and the other spot could possibly go to a 6 wide receiver. But you keeping 4 at the tight end position because you're not going to release Jimmy or Taysom or Foster or Juwan Johnson. You're going to go into the season with 3 quarterbacks. Perhaps you get an extra wide receiver if you did have 3 quarterbacks, but you're not going to practice squad Jake Hayner. Somebody's going to peel for him. You're going to have 4 running backs, 3 running backs, and a fullback for right now. So that's 4 there. That's 3 quarterbacks. For sure 5 wide receivers and 4 tight ends. And then what do you look like on offensive line? You had issues with your offensive line. Do the Saints go 9 offense? They always see, that's the history of it. They never go 5 for 5 on the line. It's always 5 or 5 for 4. They have 4 backups, and the backups play multiple positions. You'll have a guy that play either tackle position. You have several offensive linemen that play guard or tackle, or both or opposite guard positions. They'll have that dichotomy. So I mean, you're not going to keep 3 linemen for your 5 offensive. That don't make any sense. So you'll more than likely have 5 starters with 4 backups. So where was the extra spot come from? Where would it come from? Now you got 5 defensive linemen, edge rushers, and 4 interior guys. Do we cut off one of the defensive ends? No, you don't. No, you don't. You're not going to get rid of Isaiah Foskey. You're not going to cut Passenger the way he's been playing. And Granderson and Peyton Turner, they've done well enough to stay. The only place I see you can chop off somebody is perhaps one of the linebackers. Maybe you chop down a linebacker because you're not going to chop a safety down because you need him because Marcus May is going to get suspended for at least, 3 games. So you ain't going to chop it down at the safety position, or perhaps you can. Perhaps you can kind of it's going to be interesting to see. Do you really keep Isaac Yiadom? Would you keep Yiadom? If it came down to it, would you, and that's just me kind of spitballing here with the Great Saint Think Tank and Who Dat Nation. If it came down to it, we thinking Ugo Amadi has done enough to make the team. Isaac Yiadom has done enough to make the team. Lonnie Johnson Jr. has done enough to make the team. But remember, Lonnie Johnson Jr. can play corner and safety. Is that enough to kick off a spot right there to slide up for another wide receiver to save a Shaq Davis? You see what I'm saying? You're playing chess here and you're moving pieces around to figure out which ones fit. So It's a little spitballing going on there, man. And K-Man said, I think they start Traquan on the IR. Yeah, cut Bowen. Okay, cut Bowen, problem solved. Hey, Demi, how you doing, baby? Good to see you. Hi, fam. Do y'all think Traquan will be on a roster for 20? Just quite possible Traquan Smith could be on the practice squad, which is still a team, right? He still could very well be on the team. It's very interesting that the Saints, they could have gotten rid of Traquan Smith. Like, they didn't have to get rid of James Washington. James Washington was actually doing a pretty good job during camp. He was out there catching touchdowns. He was doing his thing. You didn't have to cut James Washington to bring Darrell Williams. You could have cut somebody else that wasn't playing. You see? You notice that? And then they cut down Brian Edwards. Brian Edwards is a big wide receiver. He had a couple of flubs in the game. He didn't exactly step out and stand out from the rest of the guys, but he did a lot more than Traquan Smith did. But Brian Edwards got cut. So, perhaps Traquan Smith gets to the end here, but he's dealing with a groin issue. They probably going to IR him. That's another way to save Traquan Smith's ass. They can IR him and then bring him back after a certain period of time. So this just goes to show you that some of these guys, I don't know, they die hard. It's like they Bruce Willis around here. They died. Traquan Smith is not going to relinquish that spot so easily. It could be 3 options could happen with Traquan Smith. In this particular order with Traquan Smith's future with the Saints. Right now, he got a growing issue. He hadn't practiced in a while since they announced him because he got hurt the same time Rashid Shaheed did. They had a growing issue on the same day. And we haven't seen Traquan Smith since we've seen Shaq Davis ball. We've seen several other A.T. Perry. We've seen all these other guys ball. Traquan Smith dealing with the groin issue. Saints could very well IR him. That's another way of keeping wide receivers. Why would they cut him listen, he ain't making a lot of money? That's how they look at him. Listen, Traquan Smith, man, I'm telling you something. What we can do is, he already got an insurance. Let's just IR him. And then we can bring them back, several weeks into the season if we need them. So be looking out for that maneuver. Be looking out for the IR Traquan Smith maneuver. Why would you need to cut him? That's how the Saints looking at it. Why would they need to cut Traquan Smith, a veteran wide receiver that they're familiar with, that don't make a lot of money? He's already set up and hurt for you to use the injury designation on him. That saves him, keeps him on the team. You can bring him back several weeks into the season. I'm looking at it saying Traquan Smith is not going to be released. If he would have been released, he would have been released already like James Washington or Brian Edwards was. They're going to put that boy on IR, man. Watch. And then the other option is they simply say he doesn't make the cut and they finally release him, which makes sense to us being that he didn't produce. But how the Saints have this weird love affair with somebody that really didn't do anything for us. I think they're going to probably end up practice squads this dude. That's just my call on it, man. All right. So anyway, shout out, bro. Yeah, we got a lot of people here, man. He says Traquan eligible for the practice squad. You got to meet. Yeah, and remember, when we talk about practice squad, fam, they got to waive these guys, and then they got to clear waivers. Then we re-sign them to the practice squad, right? But the way I'm saying is the only way you keep him off the practice squad is if he's on the active roster. Well, he's a part of the team right now. And if they designate him as an IR guy, then he's still on the team as a player. And my thing is that's the talking point is their head is like, we got a wide receiver that's familiar. Let's just he's dealing with a groin. Let's just IR him. And then we can bring him back, if we need him, if they got injuries to the rump. Which is not a bad philosophy, but it just keeps this guy here, and people just can't accuse him. He blocks really well. That's like nobody else says that about anybody on our team that's a wide receiver. Just say, oh yeah, man. Well, Traquan Smith here because he blocks, so he can drop passes all day. But as long as he can block, he can make it. I don't that logic. I don't know that just is not. I don't know. I say shop Jameis for a desperate team trade and get great value. Why would you cut it? But I don't know, why would you trade Jameis? Where's trade Jameis comes from? Out of all of, why would we want to trade Jameis? What if something, God forbid, happens to Derek Carr? then you would not you would then have to use Jake Hayner or bring a quarterback in from the street. Jameis has familiarity with the system, and he can lead the team in the interim. If something happens to Carr, right? If Carr struggles ugly, and they need to make a short-term change, Jameis is there. So he provides an insurance policy. Don't make a lot of money. So what is the idea to trade Jameis? I don't get that. I don't trade Jameis at all. I think Jameis stays on the team. He's valuable. He's a valuable member of the team. We know Carr is the starter. That's been said. Jameis is the backup. If injuries happen, he can lead you. So if we trade him, you would have to. What you trading for? Draft picks for what? What we need? We're gonna trade him for. What we gonna get for him? The Cardinals just sent Isaiah Simmons, who was a top 5 linebacker they drafted several years ago, to the Giants for what, a 6 or 7 round pick. We're not getting a lot of, you ain't getting those high picks for some of these players. So I don't think you're going to get which is a valuable spot. And I think he's more valuable where he is versus a pick. Why would we want to trade him? I don't get your logic on that. Trade Traquan to Sean Payton for a 4th. I don't think they're gonna give you a 4th round pick for Traquan Smith. I don't think his trade value is worth the 4th round pick when they just gave a 6th round pick up for Isaiah Simmons. That dude is something else, but I don't know. What's up, Jamaica? Shout out to you, baby. Abbott says trade Traquan to Denver. To Denver Saints, and I don't think they don't have he don't have that value. Matter of fact, what you gonna get for Traquan Smith? He's a 3rd round draft pick that didn't live up to his expectations. His best attribute is he blocks, but he's terribly inconsistent. He gets hurt, most sometimes, and I don't know what is he has no real tradable value, especially now that he's dealing with a groin issue. But the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is I don't think Traquan Smith gets traded anywhere. I mean, he don't have any trade value. No disrespect, I'm just keeping it real. But outside of that is the fact that he's more valuable to the Saints keeping him and just putting them on IR, because they're going to be a couple of players that the Saints are going to IR before they start doing it, when they in the midst of doing their cuts and breaking it down, because that's a way they can stash players too. They use the IR list as an extension of the roster as well. You can take guys, put them on the IR. You can choose or elect to bring them back at the certain point when it's cleared to do so. It's another way to stash talent. So they'll have a couple of guys who you didn't know was hurt. All of a sudden they're hurt. And the next thing you know, so you'll see a Blake Grupe or a Traquan Smith on the IR. That's a way they did the same thing several years ago to Blake Gilligan, remember? And he all of a sudden came up with some injury, and then he was stashed on the IR for the entire season. And then the next year he comes back, he's the starting punter as Morstead leaves. So, I mean, it's a smart and very, very, intelligent way to keep people who you're familiar with around by using the IR as well as the practice squad. So we'll see how it all shakes. All right. So, all right, K-Man says back to Amadi as now he's the backup slot behind Roby until Alante is ready. I think he makes the team. I think Hugo Amadi has made a case to make the team. The guys that I think Jonathan Abram hadn't done enough. And I like Jonathan Abram. I just think he's been outplayed. Hugo Amadi, a guy that wasn't really celebrated, but we looked at the film and I said, this guy flashes on film. He's always around the ball. He's a very excitable player. He's undersized, but he has a big heart and a big playing style. So he's always around the football, and he has some versatility to him. So when the Saints picked up Hugo Amadi, I was like, what the hell they want with a 5'9" defensive back? But you watch his game. His game is 6'4". His game is 6'4", but his actual size is 5'9". He has a huge heart. He's very instinctual. He's always around the ball. And good things happen when Hugo Amadi's in the game. Very excitable. Now, in terms of, him making a team, it's very well. I think Hugo Amadi does make the team. I think Lonnie Johnson Jr. makes the team. I think, what's the other brother? Isaac Yiadom makes the team. And perhaps if the Saints choose to keep 6 wide receivers, is like some of the great Saint think tanks is saying, I think it impacts the linebacker room or the defensive backs. Like, say, for instance, it might come down to like not Hugo Amadi, but Lonnie Johnson Jr. and Isaac Yiadom. And the Saints might say, you know what, we like Isaac's played his ass off this training camp and preseason for us, but Lonnie Johnson Jr. plays corner and safety. Well, Isaac plays, he's a corner, so we can get Lonnie to play corner if we need him there. And, you know, he gives us duality where Yiadom is, so we can slash Yiadom and then add this up. You see what I'm saying? And Yiadom will more than likely clear waivers, and then the Saints can practice squad him. So, but remember, these guys have to, once they cut them, they got to clear the waiver line, but for the Saints to reassess them and bring them onto their practice squad. But also remember, most of the guys the Saints currently have on their team, you know, they'll get the majority of those guys back, but they'll also pick up guys that are loose from other people's squads as well. We do it every year. We'll find somebody. Hell, we might find a kick returner from somebody else. You know, you never know. All right, Jamaica says, son of football game tonight. Slim says, ain't Atlanta turned down Tre'Quan Smith? Yeah, he was his only visit. Yeah, and I'm not mad about that. He went out there and talked to Terry Fontenot. He went out there and talked to Terry Fontenot, and you know, ain't nothing pop and shake with it, you know. And the next move after that, if the Saints would have picked him up, he would have went to west of Denver to go follow Sean Payton. He would have followed Dwayne Washington, Marquez Callaway, and all them other Adam Troutman and all them other guys out there under Sean Payton. So one move to Atlanta, and then if Atlanta ain't pick him up in the Saints, they look at him, he was headed west of Denver. Sean Payton loves Tre'Quan Smith. Let him go out there and block for them. And plus, they had an issue with Jerry Jeudy. Judy's hurt, so they could possibly use a Tre'Quan Smith, right? All right, thank you, Demi. Yeah, bag of chips. The man don't really have any trade value is what I'm saying. He's hurt right now, so a hurt player is not going to give you much value anyway, right? So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all looks, but yeah, Hugo Amadi, Isaac Yiadom, Lonnie Johnson Jr., those guys looking good right now. Guys that are not looking good, unless they have a knockdown, drag-out performance in the final preseason game. Smoke Monday looks like he's headed for the practice squad. Who else we got headed for the we had Jonathan Abrams look like he's going to be dealing with the rusty scissors. He's going to get cut. I don't think Zach Bowen. Somebody said Zach Bowen gets cut. I don't think Zach Bowen gets cut. Saints ain't going to cut Zach Bowen. Fazan's projection had the Saints keeping 6 linebackers, with Nephi Sewell, Zach Bowen, Jalen Smith being in that group along with DeMarco Jackson. So we'll see how it all fares, man. But for the most part, we know pretty much the majority of the people that will make the team, and it's a handful of them. Like, we got some questions at the wide receiver, the back end, like the last wide receiver. If it's 5, who is that going to be? Is it Kirkwood? Is it Shaq Davis? Is it, you know, who else? Is it? It's either one of the two, right? Is it Shaq Davis, or is it Keith Kirkwood for the final spot, or is it Lynn Bowden Jr., a kick returner? Everything else we know. We already know, you know, who's going to make the squad as far as that. So that's pretty solid. But the practice squad, what that looks like, all comes to fruition when we get down to that final spot. So anyway, yeah, Troy Pride going to deal with the rusty scissors. Yeah, he definitely. Adrian Fry going to get hit with the rusty scissors. Anthony, what's his name? Anthony Johnson. He gonna get hit with the rusty scissors. Mark Davis, the second's gonna get hit with the rusty scissors. Lucas Crawl needs to keep. He needs to learn how to walk, and Lucas Crawl. The Saints gave Lucas Crawl a lot of time in that last game, and Lucas Crawl was thrown at 8 times, and he caught 3 passes. He dropped a touchdown pass. And even though if Lucas Crawl was turned into freaking the reincarnation of Jeremy Shockey, he still wouldn't have earned a spot on the Saints team, because they already have their guys. That's like Nico Lalos could have 5 sacks in one game, and the Saints can't do nothing for him but practice squad them. They already have their defensive ends. They have their DEs, all 5 of them. So, you know, he's just at a tough position. Even though he can have 5 sacks, and then he had 3 in one game, he can have 5 sacks in the Texans game and still not make the active roster, because of the fact that the Saints, they already set at the defensive end position. Who they have now is the only way it changes is due to injury, but they're set at the defensive end position. The same thing as you could say about the tight end. So Lucas Krull, even if he would have balled out, I doubt he would have made the active roster. They already have their 4 guys. And you really, and truth be told, we would have had 3 there if Jimmy Graham didn't come back here. Jimmy Graham if he is not here, the Saints keep 3. They're not going to keep 4 tight ends. They're keeping 4 because of Jimmy Graham, and Taysom's not really a tight end anyway. But that's a whole another story. Yeah, he definitely headed to the practice squad. So a lot of people like Shaq Davis over, but we'll see, fam. We'll see how it all goes, man. Y'all, we'll see. We got several days to go. Well, I'm gonna return for tomorrow. We'll do a projection show. Our Saturday show, we'll do it later on. We'll do a projection show. Also, I think Ring Kings Boxing will be doing some. We'll do the. I'll have to see what time that fight is. It's Alexander Usyk, who's he's a unified heavyweight champion, a very slick master boxer from the Ukraine. He has 3 of the 4 belts for the heavyweight championship, and he's facing off against Dynamite Daniel Dubois, who's I ain't gonna say an up and coming heavyweight. He's been fighting young heavyweight with a lot of power. A questionable heart after Joe Joyce made him quit, made him kneel down, and he kind of bashed his eye in pretty good, and he couldn't see, and people were saying he quit. I'm like, the dude couldn't. Damn, it's a tough sport, but damn, the dude couldn't even see out of his eye, man. I mean, isn't that a point when you supposed to drop your damn knee? But anyway, Dubois is healthy now. He'll be fighting against Ukraine's finest, and Alexander Usyk. That's a fight set for tomorrow. I'm a boxing guy, so we have to cover that as well. So we'll see how that goes. We'll talk some fight stuff. All that's supposed to happen. So y'all just pay attention to that on YouTube, Ring Kings Boxing World. That's why I usually do all my boxing stuff. Or simply go to the whothatdaily.com and follow the link there. So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna get out on that. Y'all feel free, man, to hit the email list, join our email list that's in the chat. That way you can be notified when notified for streams when we do stuff. We don't control what this platform does, but we control what our platform does. So just for the backup situation, you need to go there, hit the link, and it's a one-click item. Put your email in and send, boom, and you're on the email list. And it's not very complicated. Just drop email in and hit send, and you're on the list. And also we'll be doing stuff like it's coming up real soon, the fantasy draft and all that stuff. We got fantasy draft stuff we're going to be doing. That'll be announced through our email list and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's getting up there soon. So if y'all want to be a part of that, man, y'all hit the email list and join it. So anyway, well, I'm gonna get out on that. Listen, I appreciate all y'all for stopping by. I'll be back or try to return tomorrow and talk some more Saints talk on a Saturday, baby. Much love to the fam. Who that? And I'm out.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shade for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees are Roger Goodell. Yeah, fucking like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who Dat and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who Dat in all of us.